Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, and new episodes are released most Wednesdays. So back off, man. We're professionals. Listener discretion is advised.
So you were in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah?
Were you in the shit?
Yeah, I was in shit.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome once again to the New Way podcast, where we break down pop culture so you don't have to. I am your host, Matt Shank. I have a very full studio tonight. But before we get to those people who, they're secondary, we got to go to my co-host with the most on the West Coast, Mr. Nicholas Santacroce, coming in there in seat number one again.
Thank you so much for the respect that I deserve and have only recently tasted the delicious fruits of.
After you sent Ben to Houston on medical leave so that you could take the Ben seat.
Yeah.
That's a bold move.
You got to do what you got to do.
And we want to welcome back two of our contributors, one of whom is in the studio for the first time. They have only ever zoomed in. So this is Mr. Ken Posner.
That's me.
Hi, Ken.
That's
How
me.
are you?
I'm outstanding. Thank you for having me.
Yes, there we go. I'm a little slow on the soundboard. It is difficult to do sometimes.
All good.
And also,
when it comes to X-Men, Poser's no poser.
Oh,
there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
We know who's going to line
Don't dox me right away, bro.
Awesome. And we have, of course, Mr. sorry to misgender you. Let's try that one more time. Miss Elizabeth coming back for her third podcast with us. Hi, Elizabeth. We will get to our topic at hand. We've been teasing this episode for quite some time, and we are going to need all of our 90+ minutes to get through this. I'm going to make a bet right now. This will be a part one podcast. I don't think we are going to get even close to scratching the surface of this.
There's a lot of material.
There's a lot to go on to. We may just rebrand the whole podcast as an X-Men podcast. The New Mutants Way.
Oh
no! Yes. Let's see.
Not my favorite title, but
Jesus.
Don't mention New Mutants.
I can't wait already. I'm so excited. There's so much volatility that can happen in this podcast.
There's some venom in that.
I do want to welcome everyone back. I want to welcome Ken back to the United States. You were abroad for a lot of the summer, which is why we couldn't record over the summer.
Yeah, I was in London and Belfast doing research for my PhD and in some dusty archives, but I'm back now. And you also are raising a now 1+ year old child. Yeah, he's almost 14 months. He's incredibly mobile, and he's delightful. He's a joy. I was really honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I went onto some message boards when we were trying to figure out what to name him, and I'm like, is there an X-Man name I can slide under the radar here that my wife will accept? Yeah, it was on the list. No, but yeah, we went with something that was non-X-Men related. Just couldn't do it. Yeah, it's not Max Eisenhart Posner.
That's a shame.
Yes, yes, it is.
And Elizabeth and Nick. So Elizabeth has now gone 3 weekends in a row to Halloween Horror Nights, and Nick, you went to your first round over at Hollywood, correct? How was the Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights?
Well, I'm afraid, Fair Matthew, as per usual, the California attractions just don't sound as good as the Florida ones.
Yeah.
We were describing the Yeti room, and while we had a Yeti as like a cornerstone of a scare zone, a giant decoration, we didn't have the room.
Now, I was not Elizabeth is shaking her head because I don't think she enjoyed the Yeti as much as I.
No, I liked the Yeti, but I'm mostly like Noah A. Fence. But yeah, Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights is pretty shitty comparatively.
Did you guys? Oh yeah, and your David S. Pumpkins was not nearly as good as our David S. Pumpkins. I have to say.
we did not have a David
You
S.
did.
No, there is
You
a
do.
David S. Pumpkins, but he's like twink David S. Pumpkins, as opposed to ours, who is fully committed to the bit.
He goes, I'm David S. Pumpkins. And I go, what does this stand for? And he goes, watch this. And then he just crab walked away. And it was the most perfect interaction I've ever had with
That's pretty great.
a person anywhere. So much fun. Elizabeth, how have your house rankings
weekends?
changed? 3 in a row she is gone.
Yes,
Three
I
weekends?
buy
6
those.
nights. 6 total nights, yeah?
We're very fucking into it.
What is
hold on,
your
let me
yearly
pull
salary?
No, she got the pass. That's
I bought the pass,
that's the deal
the
here
full
is
pass,
you do the
and I
full-on
have
pass.
annual pass, so I use those discounts. But
Oh, and it works towards Hollywood or the horror nights. I did not know that.
yeah, you have to catch it like the weekend they let you do it. So obviously, Best House, Monsters Unmasked, went through that 4 times. Dueling Dragons 5 times. Then Yeti, which does slay. I changed my mind on Yeti after doing the behind the scenes tour
Yeah.
3 times. Then Dr. Oddfellow. Then Blood Moon, Chucky, Darkest Steel, Exorcist, Last of Us. I'm not waiting in line for Stranger Things. You can't make me.
You still have not gone on Stranger Things yet.
I refuse.
Wow.
I did. I went. It was great. It was great.
It looks great. I did the behind the scenes tour and it was badass. And I'm like, this counts.
Yeah, you've got enough. You could go again. You could go in that November slot, like those 2 days in November, and
Yeah.
do it then, and just get on it when it's easy.
But
I was
like-
thinking about going back again for that.
But like 3 hours.
Yeah, no.
To stand there. I'm like, that sounds
A 3-hour
fucking
line?
terrible.
Yeah,
Literally.
for one house.
can't.
It just it
I
doesn't,
can't.
and like it's sort of like. If you're up there, if I lived there and it was so easy to get over, I would go one night and be like, okay, tonight's the night I do Stranger Things and nothing else. I'm just get a bunch of drinks in line and that's it. Like
Well, that's what
my
I-
whole time.
You make the
That's what I
line the
had to do.
experience. Yeah.
That's what you had
Yeah,
to do.
I only had one night. I live close to Universal, so it's not like that drive to Orlando, which
Yeah.
is kind of a bitch. It's here. I don't want to go back. I don't have a pass where I can come back separate time, so I bit the bullet. And I did the VIP for one night. And
Oh,
luckily,
you're talking to me about salary? Holy shit.
No. He didn't do the VIP. He did the fast pass. Not the
Okay,
VIP.
I was like, Jesus.
The
Wait,
VIP is
is that
like $800 or
Yeah.
some shit.
oh
No,
shit.
you did
It's
the
actually-
fast
I did not
pass.
do that.
It's actually called RIP.
Yes.
Oh.
No, I
does
will
it stand
say.
So
for?
clever.
Well, Elizabeth turned me on. This is the first
Wait,
year.
wait,
go ahead.
wait. We're not allowed to move on until we get to the bottom of this. What does the R stand for?
Rest.
Rary in person.
Oh, wait, what?
It's hosted by Scoobert Dew.
See,
Rary?
this is where my hypervigilance gets into trouble. Because to me, I like the pun. I like obviously the RIP play on VIP makes sense for theme and humor.
Rabidly. Rabidly important person.
Rather.
Oh, rather. Oh,
important
yeah.
person.
First of all,
Rather.
spooky.
no.
Rather.
Well, and no one in Orlando at Halloween Horror Nights is doing a rather important
No.
person.
But this cocktail is putting words in my mouth.
I will have to look this up outside the podcast.
That's upsetting.
but-
It's upsetting to me. I know no one else will be upset about it, but to me,
Yeah, I'm
it's
fine.
Like, you know,
I think it's cute.
The attention to detail is so good with everything else.
fine.
They're just gonna throw RIP in there, like. All right, never
All
mind.
right. We should save that. Listen, we've got plenty of things to argue about over the next hour and a half. So
Cannot wait.
we also want to send our loves. The only reason Ben is not with us, he is out in Texas doing follow up on his cancer recovery. Otherwise, he would be on here. He did. What was the? He did say to mention one thing. I forgot what it was.
This could be literally anything.
Let me see here. It's on. I have it on the phone here.
Ben's mutant power is very similar to Deadpool. It just kicks cancer's ass.
Oh, nice.
Ben said, I look forward to a spirited discussion where you don't make mention that my favorite growing up, I assume favorite character growing up was Beast/Hank.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that is not okay. So
I'm sorry.
that is fully. I know where he's coming from. That is fully a product of the animated
Of the
series.
fucking cartoon.
Yeah, and he's a
sure
great
is.
character on there. But if you love Beast after
Oh.
reading like X-Men comics, you're a cop.
Beast,
Like,
yeah.
Especially now,
Like-
now,
Beast now is just a monster.
He is. He is.
A
They've
literal
done a
monster.
great job with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's yeah. That's
If you like Beast now, you're a cop is one of my favorite hot takes I've heard. So we do want it. It's just amazing. I do want to also say that other contributor to the podcast and former student of Betty Fuckley, JB and Elizabeth and I are going to be doing one more show again this year. And this one, we promise you, has at least a 95% chance of actually opening and not being closed due to fuckery or whatever else. But we are all going to be in She Loves Me this end of November, beginning of December.
Musical.
Is that the one that's set in like the department store?
Yes.
It's the shop around the corner.
Oh my God!
will-
Anyone who's listening, you have to see this show. Like,
Oh, wow.
it is so delightful, and with these guys, it's going to be amazing. You have
It
to
is, and
see it.
we actually have a little bit of Elizabeth
Oh, God
rehearsing
damn it.
for the show right here. No, I know that's not her. Hold on a second. My God, I'm so rusty at this today. Let's try it one more time. No, this is Elizabeth in the show, I believe.
This is good.
God
Hey,
damn
bro,
it.
put me down for 10 grand.
That's
God
good.
damn
It's
it.
great. She's wonderful.
Nope.
It's wonderful.
Lovely.
So good. So good, Elizabeth.
Nailed it.
Really just really always nailed it. It's always so good. Okay, you know what? I think that's enough of our preamble. And
I look forward to hearing that on the podcast because I cannot hear it in my headphones. I can just see a visual of Matt
there's
fumbling with the controls.
it's the one thing that's really annoying to me with Zoom, and it's because I the only reason this is a super technical dumb thing, but the mix minus on the soundboard, if I turn it on, Nick, you will have an endless echo running through your stuff. That's why you can't
want
hear
that.
it coming out of the thing. It's very annoying, but
Well,
people on
I
Zoom
don't
can't
need
hear it.
I'll listen to. I'll listen to
Topical Zoom
this episode
discussion.
when it comes out, and then I'll make fun of Elizabeth. after I get a chance to hear
Well,
it.
and there are other sound effects. We're gonna have to treat this like it's a hearing impaired podcast. So we will just tell Nick what the sounds are that are happening as I do them. We'll do a verbal recreation of it. But let's get into the podcast. I am super excited for it. This is our long awaited, much talked about X-Men themed podcast where we don't discuss the comics at all. Only the movies,
you.
and of the
Fuck
movies,
you.
only X-Men 3, The Last Stand, arguably the best Ratner directed film of all time.
And fun fact,
God.
that was the very first thing I worked on after I moved to LA. That
So
was
it's your fault.
So you're the one to blame.
Yep,
It's your fault.
Well, that explains it.
Matthew Vaughn had just left the project.
I remember that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they were in disarray, and my job was basically just as a PA to set up the LA production office. So I had to I had to pick out furniture for Lars Schuler Donner's office and
And get shrimp
build it.
delivered to Brett Ratner's
I
trailer.
was going to say it's better than doing it for Bryan Singer.
Well, that's very true. I never
soon?
had to run in with Bryan Singer.
You know?
I did.
Is this where you'd like the boudoir?
I did promise Elizabeth we would keep this as much comic oriented as we can, and I'm gonna kind of just try to guide you guys through some conversation here. But it is interesting. I have very
He's trying to guide you past Bryan Singer's race.
I will say there's a
Sean
we will-
Ashmore was so good.
We will talk quite a bit about X2. I promise. That is the
is-
one movie we will get into on here. Partially because I have connections to all three of you via the X-Men in very different areas. And before we get to those, though, I want to just ask some general questions of you guys to kind of set the table for us to go here.
Let's do it.
But before we do that,
Oh,
it wouldn't be a podcast unless I sprung a pop quiz on all of you wonderful people here. Because I think before we start to discuss the X-Men, we should understand who knows the X-Men better
God.
than the other one.
Oh no.
God damn
And
it,
so
Matt.
I
should
have
have prepared more.
I have
Although
set up a quiz.
I did give a pop quiz in class today, so it's just karma.
Yeah.
It's just,
this is
just
very
karma.
true. Now this quiz it's hard for me to tell. In my head, it ranges from very easy to very difficult. You guys may just find what I thought were difficult questions to be very, very easy. I literally just made a list of questions and I just went Elizabeth, Ken, Nick, and went through all of them. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna ask you a question. Some of them are multiple choice, some of them are not. If you get the question right, that's worth 2 points. If someone wants to steal because you got the question wrong, they can get 1 point for the steal. Ooh. And on our last round, there will be a little bonus follow-up question for each of your final 3 questions.
My goodness.
To give you an extra chance at 1 extra point there. All right. So we're gonna start with Elizabeth.
Okay.
And we're gonna start here. And you can let me know if you need the multiple choice. Some of you just may know this automatically. Well, this one you're going to need. This one. Some of them are like, which of the
God.
following does this? So you're going to need all of them.
Are you saying you're giving us the opportunity to flex before
Some of these you
Yes.
may have an opportunity to flex and be like, I don't need this bullshit multiple choice. I know this shit.
Can I steal right now? The ultimate nullifier.
I don't know what that means. That's really geeky. All right. Elizabeth.
Yes.
Which of the following mutants does not have some mutant ability relating to luck and probabilities?
Okay, yeah.
Which of these are not luck or probabilities? The Scarlet Witch, Long Shot, Roulette,
I mean,
or the White
it's-
Queen?
Oh shit. Well, one, the White Queen is actually a fucking transferable title, so
Jesus Christ.
Do you
I knew
mean,
this
do
was
you
gonna
mean
go
Emma
this way.
Frost? She had rhinoplasty,
Do you mean-
by the way.
yeah. Well, it's fucking Emma, but yeah,
Which is, please say
the White. It's the White Queen.
That is correct. Elizabeth is on the board with 2 points. Well done. I
Well
like
done.
that you were going to answer something else before I got to White. I saved your ass on that.
No,
one.
what I was going to do was I don't consider Scarlet Witch a fucking X-Men, but
This is such, like, you've
This
touched
is-
a nerve.
yeah.
Like, if you're a real X-Men fan, you hate
This
the
is a
Scarlet
di-
Witch.
yes.
Like, you fucking hate her. And
I was
we
like-
will explain this.
I was like, so she's not an X-Men character,
Yeah.
so it doesn't fucking matter.
So, D, none of that.
But when he says X-Men, the world of X-Men, you mean mutants.
You say mutant,
Right, Matt?
difference.
Sure.
If I'm talking
or
about
muty if you're a
X-Force,
racist.
Right.
I can't over
Matt's like, all mutants look the same.
I can't overstate the minefield I am no doubt going to walk through in
Yes.
every moment of this podcast. So just be nice to me.
as
all right?
long as
Okay,
we just
all
don't
right.
bring up God Loves, Man Kills, we'll
Oh,
be good. We'll be good.
Again, I don't.
Intense.
It's possible that could be the next question. I don't even
Intense.
know. All right, Ken,
Yeah.
your first question.
All right.
This X-Man has the ability to spawn portals to teleport objects and people virtually anywhere. Who is he or she? Wait, or do you
yeah.
want to answer without knowing? You
Will
can't
I
have
get an
multiple
extra
choice.
point?
No.
Oh,
You,
then
but
no.
you get the big dick energy of
He should,
like
he should
flexing.
get an extra point.
I just,
Okay,
I
I'll-
think he earns an extra
All
point.
right, I'll let you get an extra point. That's
I'm going to
you have
say
nice competitors.
there's a few that could qualify here, but I think you're going with Gateway, an Aboriginal mutant.
I'm going to tell you, you don't get the extra point because that is not the one of the 4 that was on my list of choices for this. So here are your choices:
Okay.
Pipeline,
Failed flex.
Pipeline, Nightcrawler, Cable, Blink,
Which is not a teleporter?
which has the ability to spawn portals to teleport objects and people virtually anywhere.
Blink.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Ken is on the board with 2 points.
Nightcrawler was in there trying to be tricky.
Yeah.
I did. And when I took the quiz, I guessed Nightcrawler. And
Yeah,
I
because
was
you know
wrong.
Nightcrawler. Because
I'm dumb.
you are an Alan Cumming fan.
Because you're a dirty
I
fucking casual.
certainly am. Thank you very much. All right, Nick, your first question. This
I'm already outclassed. I'm X-Men outclassed.
I will be honest. I've never seen Nick get quieter and stare more intently at the screen as listening to these first 2 questions.
He's schwitzing like a
super
hooker and
excited.
stool right now. Like just
Because does Nightcrawler really create portals?
No.
no, he does not. He
I was going to go with magic is what I was going to say. But,
also
yeah.
Oh, I
does
want to talk about
teleporting.
magic. Thank you.
Not right now.
Words that have never been spoken in the history of anything. I want to talk about magic right now. All right.
actually-
I'm
It's magic
looking at a
with a
Harry
K.
Potter poster already.
Jesus
It is
Christ.
magic with a K.
All right.
Talk about magic.
All right, Nick. We've got to get through this quiz, guys.
Yeah,
All right,
let's do it.
This X-Man has the power to absorb and store any form of energy, which he or she can then release at will. Your choices are. Do you want to go for an extra point to guess ahead of time?
If it's kinetic energy, it's Gambit, right?
That is incorrect.
Yeah, but there are others. Give him the choices.
Here are your choice. Yeah, so you didn't get the extra point. But your choices
Failed
are
flex.
Gambit, Rogue, Bishop, Sunfire.
Oh, which one does not?
Which X-Men has the power to absorb and store any form of energy which he or she can then release at will. Rogue, Sunfire, Bishop, or Gambit.
Now, see, this is also kind of a tricky because if Rogue touches a mutant that has the ability to do that, then she can certainly do it. But
That's not her
go
primary
Rogue.
Yeah,
power.
we don't have to get that.
That's not her
meta.
primary power,
While
no,
he's
no.
thinking, can I get another one of these, Daddy?
I cannot do that. I can get you more Just hold on a second. All right.
I have a
You're gonna have to
character
get. You're
not
gonna have
on
to
that
get.
list.
Only our Patreon members who are watching
That's
the live
correct.
stream know that Ken was pointing to his empty cocktail glass.
Oh yeah, that's right. Not everyone can see this.
It was just a handy. It was a handy. Just we don't have to make it.
It was a
All right.
DJ. If you gotta ask,
So Nick,
you can't
your
afford
your
it.
final answer is
So Bobert. I'm gonna go with Rogue.
that is incorrect.
No.
The answer we were looking for is Bishop.
Oh, we
But
could have
also-
stolen.
Oh yeah, but also I was going to say Shaw.
Yes, Sebastian
What
Shaw
is-
is another one.
Yeah.
What
The Black King.
What is his power? Time travel and a big gun?
No, that is not like that's he can do that because he's from the future, but his mutant ability is as described. He absorbs and can redirect energy.
All right.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. We tried to help you on that. I did say don't. I did
but
try to
if
tell you
Rogue-
not to guess Rogue. No,
If Rogue touches Bishop, then
but
she.
but
then
Rogue's
it's
but
right
that's
there.
not
not
her
Rogue's
primary
power.
power.
What is Rogue's
Unless
power?
she kills him and then she has it permanently. I
Oh
think.
shit, Jesus! All right. We
Correct.
are over. I
Correct.
Because Carol
I
didn't
think
die.
I earned that point.
Oh, did she not die?
No,
Oh,
she
yeah, I
just,
guess you
like-
can't kill her.
She just comaed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's really strong, so
Yeah.
maybe she could.
She was having a really bad.
But the kid died, right? Like her
Oh, yeah.
boyfriend. Yeah.
Nick just tried to really slide in there while you guys were geeking out and be like, I think I got that point. Just go give me that point.
I think I successfully, like the thesis you're working on. I feel like I adequately proved.
That does not count.
No, the only reason I also did not allow you guys to steal is we had already X'd out, pardon the
Oh,
pun, too
got
many
it.
characters on that one. All right, Elizabeth, here we go. This evil mutant has the ability to release a deadly virus from his body. Who is he? Do you want to guess first, or do you want to get the multiple choice?
evil mean?
I was waiting for that
It's
answer.
context.
Lawful evil? Or...
I mean, what I'm thinking, it doesn't make sense. So give me the.
Your choices are famine,
Well,
pestilence.
that's, okay.
Wait, famine, pestilence, death bird, or Omega Red.
First off, fuck Omega Red. I hate Omega
Yeah,
Red.
terrible.
Hot take. It's pestilence, but that's not one mutant.
Many mutants have been pestilence.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do in this case because the answer that I was given for this quiz is not what you just
What
said.
was it?
Is it Deathbird?
No, it is Omega Red.
No.
Fuck Omega Red.
No. Omega Red emits like a kind of like a field
Yeah.
of like energy draining, life draining sort of force.
Wait, so you guys can tell me, do we give Elizabeth the points?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I think it's bubonic.
The bubonic plague.
All right, Ken, you're up next.
All right.
So there may be some of these we can argue over.
That's fine.
I'm only going off
It's
of what
X-Men.
I read on the.
It's like Talmudic discourse.
Also, it's the
fine.
interwebs.
None of it
Who
makes
could-
sense.
They couldn't possibly be wrong about any of
No,
these.
everything's right on the
All right,
interwebs.
Ken. This mutant is naturally impervious to Cyclops' optic blasts.
Can I try?
You can try to guess.
Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex.
No, that is incorrect.
Oh, his brother Havoc. Okay. But
That-
he is, isn't he? Isn't Sinister? No, it's
no,
the only
not-
thing he's vulnerable to.
Yes.
I had it inverted. Give Elizabeth this deal.
I'm
No,
going.
because you still said it.
No.
You
I'm
still
gonna
said
I'm
it.
gonna give you just give you 2 points. You're not gonna get 3 for
Fine.
the extra, but you're gonna get 2 points. The correct answer was Havoc. His
Fair enough. Alex Summers.
There we go.
The Mimbo.
That man frustrates. I love Polaris. I'm a Polaris.
Oh my God.
So
like
I love him as a character, and then I like think about him. I'm like, you
Yeah.
fucker.
dating Polaris
I like-
is gay.
Dating Polaris is gay.
This is true. That's
I
from
like
the
the
Cerebro
band.
cast.
Yeah.
The band Polaris did the theme song to Pete and Pete.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Fun
know
fact.
that.
Fun fact.
Do they
And
have
it's
green
actually
hair
about-
like,
Yeah, like-
Lorna Dane? Is her
And
name
it's-
Lorna Dane?
Lorna Dane.
Yeah, Lorna.
It's actually about the Kent State shooting. If you listen to the lyrics.
Oh Jesus.
Well,
Wow,
Lorna
well,
Dane
that
is
just
not
really
about
took
that.
things down.
yeah,
there.
that's
But she has
Also-
a PhD in geology.
she does.
She finally got her
does.
PhD.
Yeah.
Every time I see one of you guys like light up to out geek the other one, all I'm hearing in my head, I'm going to tell you this is all. I'm going to try to play it each time I see it, but this is what I hear. And that, Nick, was the Cyclops X-Men video game sound effect of the
Colossus, right?
Colossus. Sorry,
Yeah.
not Cyclops. Colossus.
Cyclops is more articulate. Colossus is the dumb Russian.
Just dumb. All right, on to Nick.
It's a beautiful cacophony. By the way, Rogue possesses the mutant ability to absorb the psyche and abilities of another human being.
Yeah, that's not-
That's-
no mention
that's-
of
not
energy.
But she's
Correct.
not intentionally doing that. Also,
Right.
she's not.
Yeah, I don't understand how I didn't get a point. But go ahead, please, go ahead.
Just to remind everyone the score right now, 4 points for Elizabeth, 4 points for Ken, 0 points for Nick.
Beautiful.
Here we go. Nick.
What point's a question?
Here's your question. The following characters have one thing in common. They have no powers in and of themselves, only the ability to influence other mutants' powers. Right? Which one of these does not fit that description? Your choices are Ricochet, Jean Grey, Rogue, or Leech.
Ricochet.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. We go to Elizabeth. Would you like to steal?
I'm gonna go Leech.
That is also not what the answer said on
Balls.
there. Which we can only have one
think
person can steal.
This is is it Jean Grey?
It is Jean Grey, is what they are saying.
This is
Oh,
a convoluted
this is-
kind
yeah.
of question. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I want to formally
Protest?
not only file. I'm playing the rest of the game under.
Take it
under
to the Krakoa Council.
strong.
God, I'm
protest.
trying to. Can you say the question one more
Yeah.
time?
Okay, the following characters have one thing in common. They have no powers in and of themselves, only the ability to influence other mutants' powers. Which one of those
I'm
does
calling
not
bullshit.
fit in the...
She's a low-level telekinetic.
Which one?
Yeah.
Jean,
That is true. First of all, that is true. She is telekinetic. It's not as strong as like other
as her telepathy, but,
right.
like,
But that is true. Also,
But they're saying they don't have any powers but the
yeah,
ability to influence.
like I get what that question's trying to do, but it's not. It's
I'm
not
getting...
great.
So out of...
I'll write these for you next.
Thank you.
I'm going to give Nick the 2 points
Yes,
for that one
that's
because
fair.
it was an unfair question.
Correct.
Yeah, that
and,
question-
Agreed.
And I do love how, as much as you guys fight about shit, your selflessness about the points is amazing. You're like, yeah, give him 10 points. That's good.
I just like talking X-Men.
Yeah, I know, right? This is a win-win.
All right, Elizabeth.
Yes.
This X-Man had the ability to invent and build any kind of object or machine he could think
Can I-
of. What was it? There is no multiple choice.
Flex.
You just
flex
get
it.
to...
Flex it.
No, there is.
There's no
you
multiple
have to
choice.
flex on this one. So
Forge. Yeah.
that is correct.
That is
Elizabeth
Love
gets.
Forge.
One of
I cannot
the
wait
few
for
Native
Forge.
American mutants that
Yes.
that we have.
I was very worried that was going to be one person would know it. I love that all three of you did. Ken.
Yes.
Is Thunderbird a mutant?
Yes.
Thunderbird is Shaman a mutant?
Shaman.
M. Night Shyamalan?
Shaman?
Alpha Flight.
Oh God.
Oh, but they prefer to be called First Nation in Canada.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a Canadian. They're not X-Men. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep,
Am I wrong?
got that one. Definitely nerded out on that. Right. Okay, Ken.
Yeah.
Again, the score right now is 6. Elizabeth, 4 for Ken, 2 for Nick. Ken, what was the New Mutant Cypher's ability?
You can speak any language.
That gets you the flex 2. That gets you 3 points. So you're up to 7.
Very important in the modern
Yeah.
incarnation of X-Men. If you're current with the X-Men, Cypher is
I
no
love you,
longer.
Cypher.
Cypher used to get it like he used to be the one that died on like every
Yeah,
mission.
and they
like-
try to make him cool. They're like, "Look, he can talk to computers. Isn't that? Don't you like that, kids?"
And kids are like, "Does he have claws though?"
Yeah.
But does he have claws?
Right, Nick, and I swear I tried to make this fair in that I did not assign question. I just went through the order and did bup. So this one seems difficult to me, but I don't know. It could be really easy, so don't hold me to the fire. Nick, the following mutants can all attack enemies with light. Which one of these cannot? Shard, Arclight, Dazzler, Whiteout.
Good luck, Nick. That's rough.
Okay, so definitely Dazzler does. He converts sound into light.
Excellent. Yes.
Whiteout. What
The
is
Taylor Swift of the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And by the way, I would not be mad at all if Swifty gets that role. I mean, it's
Actually,
fantastic at
I
its
could see
best,
it.
but like it's perfect.
I don't know. I really like the discussion that's been happening lately about Dazzler's original design and casting a woman of color.
Oh yeah, yes, that is
I
a
didn't
good
know
point.
about that.
Like it was supposed to be disco. And
Yeah,
it's
Grace
like,
Jones inspired.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
like that.
Oh, I mean, you twist my arm.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
I love any
Whiteout-
character that can be played by either Taylor Swift or Grace Jones. That's an amazing gamut that you run in those two casting choices.
Yeah, they're so far apart that they're actually.
I was
adjacent.
thinking either Taylor Swift or Grace Jones. Discuss.
Either John Gielgud or Sly Stallone. One of the two.
All right, Nick.
Give me the names. You got Shard, Whiteout.
Shard, Arclight, Dazzler, Whiteout.
Okay, here's. I think Arclight's mutant ability is to go out of business during COVID.
Is that the theater? Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well done.
Oh.
That was
Here,
adorable.
Are you Googling, Nick?
I'm not googling. That really is his power. I think Arclight is a misdirect. All of these questions have quote unquote clever misdirects. Whiteout, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say Shard, even though that seems like the answer. I'm gonna go Arclight because that seems like the most obvious answer. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
You
Arclight.
are correct. By the way, I totally forgot. I had buzzers in for whether you got things correct or not correct, which are actually kind of funny to me.
Let's put it in halfway through the game.
We're gonna put
Right.
it halfway through the game. We have two choices, right? One of them, this is your correct answer, would be right.
Yep,
We get
yep.
it's the X-Men. It's just the stinger from the X-Men theme, Nick. And then if you get it wrong, it is the theme from Batman. So we go. If you're
man.
incorrect about it, you get
Fucking
Batman.
DC.
Your other choices. If you are right,
This
you
was a safe space.
if you were right. Well, that's why you get it wrong. You get
I know.
DC.
No, I get it. I just didn't want to hear that shit.
Your other choice is if you get it right, you get to hear.
We are the future, Charles, not them.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
if you get it wrong, it's
Toad has a wicked tongue.
Oh, God.
It's these.
okay. All right. So Nick, I don't know if you could hear those, Nick, or not.
Toad has a wicked tongue, Senator.
So if you get it correct, it will say, "We are the
that
future, Charles, not them."
Is that what they say?
By the way, we're going to get to why I picked those two quotes. These are specific for Ken, but we will get to that in a moment. All right, we're going to continue on. Our score right now is Elizabeth with 6 points, Ken with 7, Nick with 4. All right, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Lila Cheney, daughter of Dick Cheney, the rock. Okay, I'm sorry. Lila Cheney, the rock star who secretly possesses the mutant ability to teleport across solar system-sized distances, had a long-term romantic involvement with which member of the New Mutants?
Oh, I hate this.
Would you like to guess first and get
Oh
the
my
extra
God, why
point?
is it leaving me? Oh,
New Mutants.
God. Oh my God, why?
There's a lot of New Mutants.
I would
in this
need
quiz,
the
I'm so sorry.
choices.
Give me
There's
the choice, I
no
can't-
Your
way.
choices.
She's had
It's-
so many men.
Your choices
it's
are
I know.
Warlock, Cannonball, Sunspot,
it's Cannonball.
or that is correct.
Yeah.
you
Sam
the 8
Guthrie.
points.
Yeah.
Of
I'm
the
not
Guthrie
invulnerable when I'm blasting.
I love that I don't understand any of this stuff, but it is
Don't worry about
entertaining
it.
to me. All right, Ken.
I'm always blasting. Yeah, what's up?
Cyclops Scott Summers, because you need that,
He's on my
has
shirt.
been romantically involved with a number of women over the years.
Indeed.
Which one of his paramours has also been romantically involved with X-Men archenemy Magneto? So who is Cyclops Eskimo Brothers with Magneto over? Would you like to flex, or would you like your choices?
I'm gonna need the choices.
Take the names.
Your choices.
Wait.
I
There's no
know-
penalty to flex, so you might as well try.
Oh, that's interesting.
And this is also a little bit of a loophole, because if you guess one of the 4 ones and I tell you it's not that, then you've actually
That is
phoned a friend to get one
kinda
out
true.
of there. But
no, I'll keep it pure.
Okay.
Just read the. read
your
the
choices are
Respect.
Jean Grey, Alettis Forrester, Colleen Wing, no relation to J.B. Wing, and Madeline Pryor.
What were the two in the middle? All right, it's not Colleen Wing, but go ahead.
Jean Grey,
Yeah.
Malcolm.
Colleen Wing, Alettis Forrester, Madeline Pryor.
Who's I don't know Forrester.
You're saying her name wrong.
I'm so sorry. Could you say
The
the
Forrester is correct. The first name, I cannot remember her first name, but it is
Is
that
it
one.
Colleen Wing?
Alettis?
When they're when Scott first leaves the team and they show up at
Wait, are you?
Oh,
You're giving him the answer.
he can have it. We're having a good
Oh,
time.
I
Put me down for 10 grand.
go ahead. Explain away.
when, when Scott first leaves the team and he goes up and he's just dating everybody.
Like when he's retired and
yes.
yeah.
And they go to Magneto and he's wearing like the and they put Cyclops in the octopus outfit.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Lee Forrester, I think is
Lee.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The name that was on there said Aletys Forrester. Aletys?
I mean, maybe that's the actual name, but everyone, like, it's always Lee Forrester.
Forrester.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 1 point.
Okay, I'll take
And I'm gonna
it.
give Elizabeth 1 point.
Yes, fair.
And you know what? I'm gonna give Nick 1 point.
Yeah.
Because he was a good sport about listening to that geek out thing
Thanks,
right there.
thank you, Nick.
All right, Nick.
And thank you, Elizabeth.
This is a long question, Nick.
Oh boy, this is an essay.
I swear to God, I did not plan it this way.
man.
I'm so sorry.
Good luck, Nicholas.
I just hope that you channel your inner Drew Carey and just give me arbitrary points.
I wish I could take credit for the radio gold I'm accidentally creating here, but I honestly cannot do it. All right. In Uncanny X-Men number 150, released October 1981, longtime arch rival Magneto shows his softer side for the very first time. A landmark moment that would eventually lead him to renounce his villainous role and even replace Charles Xavier as mentor of the X-Men and the New Mutants. What happened in this issue to make Magneto change his ways? Elizabeth, shut your mouth right now.
Elizabeth is vibrating.
She is 100% vibrating.
She's going to get a chance to steal.
Well, you have
four.
four choices. Would you like to flex first, or would you like to hear your choices?
R.I.P. Nick.
I have a comedic flex that isn't in any way.
Do it. Let's hear it.
No, read the.
Okay, your choices are: he was informed that he was dying. He learned that his daughter was still alive. He nearly killed Kitty Pryde. He was told that there were civilians aboard the nuclear submarine that he sank in self-defense.
Okay. So it's not that at his high school reunion where he was sent to assassinate someone, he looked into the eyes of a baby during a Queen song?
No. That's so
Okay.
close, though. That's a
John
plot line from
Cusack.
We Will Rock You.
Okay, so we got he wasn't told about the people on the submarine that he sank.
Yes, he was informed that he was
Tried
dying.
out- Yeah.
He learned that his daughter was still alive. He nearly
Yep.
killed Kitty Pryde.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the answer I know Rivers Cuomo would go with. He almost killed Kitty Pryde.
That is correct.
That is correct. That is correct. Very.
Just so
Such a
you
good
should
one.
know, Elizabeth's favorite character, and she has a shrine. I was going to get to this on the podcast. Is Kitty Pryde?
Problematic.
I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into this.
We can't wait. We are absolutely getting into it. But
Let's do it.
let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right.
It's also just an iconic moment in X-Men history. It
Yeah.
is one of it's either the first time or one of the first times that Magneto is textually referred to as a Jewish character.
Yes.
Wow.
It's really canonically it's a Jew saving a Jew.
Yes.
Like they're both. It is a very famous and powerful moment. For a
But
lot
she
of
is
fans.
also wearing her worst outfit. It's her roller skate outfit.
Girl, we all made mistakes.
All right, we are down to our last two questions for each of you. Right now, the score is Elizabeth in first place with 9 points, Ken in second place with 8 points, Nick in third place with 7 points. It's anyone's game.
It is.
Let's keep it going. Elizabeth,
Respect.
what state? I like that. What state in the United States
Nice.
is Rogue originally from?
Louisiana.
Flex it.
Is that
Can't
your
do
flex?
accents. Yeah.
That's incorrect.
No, it's not.
Oh God, Remy is Louisiana.
That is incorrect.
Oh,
Ken,
shit!
Ken, would you like to steal for 1 point?
Is it Mississippi?
That is correct. It is Mississippi.
Oh,
Tied
shit.
it up on there.
Oh shit!
Someone got
that
a
was
little
good as
too
fuck. I
big
did
for
get
their
cocky.
britches.
That was good.
It's too quick. No,
That's it
we
right
want
there.
no, we want Ian McKellen.
That
on
was good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, wait.
Toad has a
Nope.
Toad has a
Nope.
We are the future,
There
Charles.
you go.
Not them.
Not
There
them.
it is. There you go.
was so
Congratulations.
good.
Oh
Totally
my
forgot
God.
about it again.
Cocky. That
All
was
right.
good.
I can't hear a goddamn thing.
Sorry, Nick. Sorry, Nick. We're having a grand
It's
old
great.
time.
It's really
I
great,
heard
Nick.
about 17 seconds of screeching.
That's
You heard
pretty
right.
close to what it was. But
heard
there were a couple
right.
things. All right.
All right. let's
Rogue
do it.
is from Mississippi. Just want
That's
to
correct.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I
Ken,
fucked it
Honestly, you can tell. Like she's.
I
Anyway,
fucked it up. That was
she's
on
not
me.
Ken,
very
Ken has the
well-educated.
ability to rocket into the lead here.
No,
Ken,
no. Always
a
was.
number of X-Men and New Mutants come from the future, or more accurately, from alternate futures. Which of the following characters is not time displaced? This character is not time displaced. Bishop, Gambit, Cable, Phoenix 2.
Okay. No.
Gambit.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Also, no one calls Rachel Phoenix too.
Yeah, yeah.
I
that's
would-
a
well,
weird
I
one,
also
but
debated-
Phoenix Junior.
Yeah, I
I-
think it's in there for people not to be in the comments like,
Oh, not
actually,
Dark
Jean
Phoenix?
Grey's,
Yeah.
the fucking.
I debated for a long time whether to pronounce it Phoenix the Second, and I wasn't sure if that would get me laughed at, so I
Phoenix the
went with this
Second.
one. All right, Nick.
All
And
right,
then you
so
have- you have-
after those two layups, I
Yes.
can't wait to hear what 6 paragraphs. you have for me.
I will say yours is not only easy, but I'm going to offer you
no.
a bonus on this one for one extra point that we've already
'Cause I need it.
We already
I
covered it
desperately
in
need
the
it.
podcast.
Wait,
All right.
can it be double points? I just think it'd be fun.
I agree.
Well, he's
The final round?
he has a pot. He can get up to 3 points with this, and this is a layup. Even I know this. The
Ooh.
answers to this one.
Bold
Nick.
words.
What racial slur?
Oh God! No, not tonight, Nick.
We can't get into
Not tonight.
it. We can't get into
What
it.
racial slur did Kate repeatedly?
We cannot get into it. We cannot get into
I
it.
would have loved to have forced someone to have to say the word on the podcast because that would have been
No.
amazing. Okay, Nick, what is Havoc's power?
Oh.
All right. Havoc.
Havoc. And
the
X-Men we
Green
talked
Wolf-
about at length earlier in the podcast.
Oh no, we know. It's like okay. Now I'm talking this out. So
He's
it's like
Googling with his right hand.
okay, Sonic. It's like a Sonic.
No, that's
Siri,
a talent.
what are Havoc's powers?
It's like not an
ChatGPT.
earthquake. That's the other one. It's like more like a sonic boom. Is what I tend to remember.
Judges,
He's close.
I'm
It's
going to
close.
give you I'll give you a half of it. I'll give you 1 point.
I think Elizabeth should be able to steal.
Elizabeth.
No, I don't want to steal. I want to
But
see.
all right, so I'm gonna.
You want to see him squirm?
Do you all agree with this description of what they say? They say his power is plasma blasts.
Yeah, which is like shorthand for like just energy, but he. Yeah,
It's more complicated.
It is.
Summer Brothers are more complicated than that.
they're very complicated. They get with he ambiently absorbs cosmic energy and has to like release it. Yeah, in the form of like plasma, whatever. But I don't think the writers knew what plasma
No.
was.
So he's like a walking wet dream, is what I'm hearing.
No.
In the same
okay.
way that, like, to this day, Cyclops will like light a campfire,
Right.
and you're like, no,
no,
wait,
it's supposed
no.
to be concussive.
Yeah.
It's not heat, right?
It
So-
just doesn't make sense, and you just
It
deal
doesn't.
with
All
it.
right,
Yeah.
so I gave Nick
Ricochets off glass.
I gave Nick the 1 point, but also it's just, now it feels a little pedantic. But your follow-up question, your bonus for this one was, who is Havoc's brother?
Oh, stop.
Vulcan.
Vulcan. Oh, I knew Gabriel Summers.
I think
you think
he's
you
from-
think these guys are
Oh,
probably.
I know. He's from Louisiana, right?
Nick,
Aren't
I
they
need
from Alaska?
Nick, I need you to hear
It's
say the
Scott-
name.
No, they
it's
were
Scott Summers.
That is
Scott
correct. All right.
Isn't like Scott Summers from Alaska? It's like
No, his family is the orphanage was in Omaha,
All right.
Nebraska.
All right,
Right.
everyone.
And,
We are
okay. Let's
don't
talk.
mean to break up this party.
Let's talk.
We are on the
And
last.
Matt.
Oh,
yes,
let's-
Matt,
let's do this.
This will be very, very quick. I promise. Promise. But again, for our Patreon viewers who could see this, but I'll have to describe it for our podcast listeners. I only a few months ago completed a sheet of comic cards. You know, like when they came out, you could put 9 in a placement and it would make a big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my favorite series
Oh.
was the '94 Fleer Ultra X-Men
my
card
God.
series. I hopped
Ken
on
just
eBay.
cried a little bit.
I did. I'm like getting like I'm a little verklempt.
At my 40th birthday, for myself, I bought the missing Wolverine card in the dead center of the puzzle.
Yeah, of course
that I have
he's
not
In
had
the
for
Paul Lynn
years and
slot?
years.
I'm the secret square.
I'm Wolverine. I've got
What I
metal in
do.
my body. Would you like 9 inches of metal in your body? Hey.
Oh.
I'm
Let's
the
see.
best at what I do. Anyway, here.
Wow.
Oh, this is
Oh
very
my
blurry.
God.
I know.
Maybe
But,
turn
oh,
off
yes,
the blur on your
yes.
Look at
background.
that.
Holy.
gotta unblur my background.
Just
Yeah,
show me
unblur your
Cyclops.
background.
He's the only
Unblur
one I
your
really
background.
care
How
about
do
here.
I do that? Oh, there we go.
If only we knew who Cyclops'
Yep.
brother. Oh, there it is.
Oh
wow.
my God.
Really beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. That's
And
impressive,
I
Nick.
I had every card but the goddamn middle.
Is that Xavier at the bottom?
Yeah,
That
of course it
wait,
is.
good. Get that zoom in. That's a badass Xavier. Look
Hell
at those
yeah.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
It's the Hildebrand brothers, motherfucker.
That's why Nick. That's Nick. Is that the inception of your obsession with eyebrows?
Brad.
All right,
Nick
all right,
has an
everyone.
eyebrow.
Here are our scores. We are on our last 3 questions
Oh my god,
of
there's
this.
still more questions.
Just 3. No, each of you get 1 more question apiece. In first place with 11 points is Ken. Tied for second place are Elizabeth and Nick with 9 points each. It's anyone's game. Here we go. Elizabeth, what is karma's power?
Oh shit. We're talking New Mutants karma, correct? Just checking.
Could be. I don't know.
Jesus.
I will accept
I'm
either
not a-
answer.
I hate the new.
I'm not a fan of that character. Karma's a bitch.
Hey.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
It is to manifest your worst nightmare.
I will accept it. It said mental possession, so
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
God.
allow that.
That is a very.
I'm gonna allow that.
pedantic way
Now
to
That
do
is
it.
a very.
Now,
clumsy
Elizabeth,
description.
for your bonus point, this is tricky. What is her claim to fame in X-Men lore? What is special about her?
She might be. Oh, she the first. She's not the first Asian character.
Huh.
I don't think. I mean, I don't think the leg comes till later.
I think.
I mean-
Yeah, maybe it's that. Like the first stabled, like able. I don't know. There's a couple ways this could go.
I love that you've given 2 answers that are not the answer on here, but I love
my
that this character
God.
is so pivotal to this.
She's Vietnamese. Is that
I mean,
is that who
but
we're
I don't-
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can tell me what it is, because I've come up with two
Okay,
that are
we cannot give you the point.
Yeah, what is it?
What this said, at least, one of the first openly gay characters in the X-Men
Oh.
yeah, technically.
I guess.
I mean, I listen. I would have given you anything close to that. I thought when you were like one of the first, I was like, yeah, and you're like
every,
Asian. I was like,
Every X-Men is
Okay, is-
bisexual,
yeah.
like at least.
Okay.
But
Like,
anyway,
I mean-
shout out to Mechanics.
Okay.
When Karma and Kitty.
Oh, yes.
Are hooking up.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
stuff.
true.
It's
Yeah,
great
is that when
stuff.
she's in college?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and they're like,
I'm
she's
serious.
still a straight, and
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a mutant named?
that was
Is there a
Colossus.
mutant named Chameleon? Because I think they should have gotten together.
Chameleon,
Karma,
Karma, Chameleon. Mhm. There we go, Nick. Well
Very
done.
clever.
Well done. Well done. All
Clever.
right, Ken.
Yes.
Your
Just a
final
toad.
question.
All right. Thank God.
And I love that you guys brought this up earlier. What is Polaris's power?
Magnetism, like her daddy.
And that was the bonus question. Why? Who is her father? So that gets
That-
you 12.
That counts as a
13.
flex.
I
That's
feel like I got
14.
the easy ones.
You
Like,
might have. All right, Nick.
What color's
That
her
counts as
hair?
a flex.
Nick,
too.
Nick's is easy, but it also is going to make
Green, it's
someone in the
green.
room. Someone in the room
It's
going to
green,
laugh
green.
at this. What is Shadowcat's power? Nick.
Yeah.
I think you cut. Oh, okay. Yeah, just to transfer through solid mass to walk through it.
Phasing. I will
Also
take
known as
that.
phasing.
Yeah.
Also, before anyone yells out the obvious on this one, what is Shadowcat's other name?
Kitty Pryde, of course.
That is correct.
actually, she has about like 8 different names she's
Yeah.
gone by. And currently Kate.
Yes.
Now,
you kind of dead named her, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I am.
was it Catherine in the Claremont series?
She went by Kitty then. I personally, like, when referring, if it's like current day comics, I say Kate. If it's past comics,
It is
I say Kitty.
Yeah, it's a way to locate a character, especially when like you're, and this is like a good segue into like, you know, the some discussion here, but like it's a good way to locate a character when you're talking about 40, 50 years
Yeah.
of history. And
Yeah.
even though she's still like reads young or whatever, the time dilation of X-Men ages is really extraordinary. Like Magneto's supposed to be a Holocaust survivor, but that puts him at what, 110 now or
Yeah.
something?
But he got babyfied.
Right, of course.
I love that. So that I did have a tiebreaker that was mostly for Ken's benefit. And I will
we hear
also I will let you have the tiebreaker. I just want to say the scores are in, and in third place we have Elizabeth with 11 points.
We are the future, Charles, not them.
That's right. In second place, we have Nick with 12 points.
Toad has a wicked tongue, Senator.
And in first place, with 14 points, our winner, Ken.
Good theme.
Anyway,
Don't work out to that song.
My tiebreaker question was for Ken only.
Oh.
And it was, what is Jubilee's power, and can we even call it that?
Fireworks. Pyrotechnics.
The one thing I remember
Shoplifting.
from initial conversations with Ken
Being
was how much
outdated.
he hated Jubilee and how useless she was as a character. That was one of our earliest conversations in time. So thank you guys. That was wonderful.
I have one last trivia question.
Ooh.
Oh.
And it has to do with the theme song.
Oh.
And it was.
And I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to run and get Ken. Ken, I can't do that another one of those, but I can get you.
I was just joking. That's so sweet of you.
My God. I mean, I
Nick,
can't
ask
carry
the
a
question. I'll be right back.
podcast for a few moments now that I've finally taken control of the new way. Welcome to the X-Men episode, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host. Matt has to freshen up Ken's drink, but this is actually, all joking aside, my favorite piece of trivia that I've been holding on to for years and years.
I can't wait.
Ron Wasserman, who you don't know, but who did the X-Men theme song, did another very popular theme song for another show. And it is
Perfect Strangers.
almost as big of a banger. Good guess. Very good guess. Any wild... It's sort of superhero-y, and it was for kids.
Transformers.
Any wild guesses? That's not bad either.
Thundercats?
That's not bad either.
Wild guesses.
He wrote the theme song to the Mighty Morphin Power
What?
Rangers.
Ah, okay.
Wait.
Can you imagine
My
having that on your
goodness.
resume?
I missed the question.
That's
I'm so
all you
sorry.
need.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
extraordinary.
That's it.
That's good. That was a
they-
good one.
What was the
Ron
question?
Wasserman. Ron Wasserman. You can Google him later, Matt. But
Okay.
let's get this show moving. Come
All
on, let's-
right.
Yeah, we got to get into it.
Like we
I'm
didn't
getting
just
bored.
start the podcast, really, already, guys. You can just calm yourself down. All right, everyone.
Wait, you didn't make me a cocktail, Matt?
We are 50 minutes into this podcast
shit.
already.
Yeah. it
I
was a-
love when a plan doesn't come together, but actually it does.
Well, this is a part one, like you
Yes.
said.
This is
Right.
a dense topic.
So I did come up with
Matt's
a few.
the best he is at what he does, and what he does is record 50-minute podcasts.
That's right. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk. No. All right.
Cheers.
Right. So I have some questions to kind of get us into this conversation. Obviously, I am. This is an unrivaled amount of knowledge about a topic, more than I think anything we've ever had on the podcast. I don't think I've had three people that are more in tune with the minutia of something like this. So I'm just excited to listen to some of these answers. But I also kind of want to get the human side of this a little bit as well. So my first question is the easiest one, which is, and I'm going to start with Elizabeth. I'm going to go to the order of the game. What was your first introduction or interaction with the X-Men? Like, what do you remember when they came on your radar?
Yes. So I actually didn't start reading comics till I was in middle school. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to do anything that had violence in it, so I didn't grow up on the cartoons, nothing like that. And then I got into comics because of a musical called Holy Musical Batman, which
Amazing.
is hysterical, and then made me, as a middle schooler, decide to get into comics. And eventually I showed up at the local comic shop and was kind of just like, I've been reading Batman digitally, but I want to read print comics. And the guy who owned the store was like, first thing you got to read. And it was the first Wolverine miniseries. And from there, I was like, this is my obsession. This is going to be everything I care about for the rest of my life.
So good.
Yeah, what a great first
It's
thing
such
to
a
read
gift.
from it. Yeah.
It's such a gift.
Ken, I know some of your history a little bit, but
I
bring
hope
this
not
in.
all of it.
Only your search history.
Oh,
how about you?
thank
What
God.
was your first interaction with the X-Men?
It was similar. It was also middle school, and it was also, a gateway comic that got me into X-Men, and it was actually from Vince, who we grew up
Yes,
with.
Vince Lardieri, friend of-
who's like an amazing artist and like would draw like superheroes and stuff. And I was at his place, and he like showed me a comic, and I'm like, "What is this?" It was also Wolverine, which I have a complicated relationship with Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like I should be my entire life. I felt like I should be a huge Wolverine stan, and he's never been my favorite. I've always been like actively militating against Wolverine, but whatever. But like, yeah, I was hooked, and I read everything I could get my hands on. Luckily, you know, had some good local comic shops, and then of course that was, you know, supplemented by the animated series, which is, I feel like it was. I was definitely watching it. I felt like it was targeting a little bit younger than me, but like I loved the show. It was a great show. But yeah, it was a friend with a great comic.
Nice. And Nick, how about you?
Yeah, like Elizabeth, I didn't start reading comics until I was an adult. I collected those cards, and I had an encyclopedic knowledge of like characters,
Yes,
and none of the plot. And that was my gateway. I liked the characters so much. And then I started watching the cartoons. Then I started, and not even reading the comics until much later, but just, you know, asking friends and having them tell me the stories of what they knew, and building my knowledge off of that. But like the cartoon was absolutely fucking huge for me and my friends and everyone at school. It was
huge cultural thing.
Kind of a tour de force cartoon, and in a way, I don't think the Batman animated series came even close to the hype, or at least the fan.
Bold words.
Now we watch it now, and Batman the animated series is undisputed masterpiece. It runs circles around the X-Men.
Well, but did Batman have a tie-in with Pizza Hut?
No. But I will say, like, I mean, Marvel is giving us, like, Beast is giving us Shakespeare in scenes in that series, but Batman gives us like William Blake poems. Like, I mean, it's like they're really competing in that way. Can I ask Nick a quick follow-up question? You were like really into the cards. Did you have the ones where it's like energy projection, fighting ability?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, because I can still give you like the height and weight on like a lot of these characters, which is so weird. Like where they're born, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, what? Fighting ability 0?
Elizabeth obviously didn't have those cards because she thought it was Louisiana. But
that was pure hubris.
I deserve that. It's too quick. That's same thing happened to me in a spelling bee. Like,
I deserved that.
Like, just my mouth was ahead of my brain.
Yeah.
That feature, though, Ken, like really was ingenious in a way, because normally when you see something like that in a card, it's like magic, or it's a game.
Yeah.
If a number is higher, then the card wins. But it wasn't a game. This was to collect and just purely like gather knowledge on a character that we have now carried with us.
You're at the heart. Sorry, you're at the heart of something that I love about the X-Men, which is it's character driven. Like I mean, these are complex characters. It's so rare to get a flat character in the X-Men. Even though like the flat characters have been like rounded out and made more complex. Sometimes recently, in the hands of like good authors, you know, any character can be kind of compelling. But even like your idiot sort of brutish villains like have you know more complexity to them than you might expect. But
except Omega Red,
except for Omega Red, who's fucking terrible. Like, I mean, just absolutely awful.
Well, also I think Nick, you're hitting on probably a genius side. I'm looking at this from the marketing aspect, which is say kids are collecting baseball cards and all these things. Why don't we make this like a sport and we give them their height and weight and we give them their ability?
Yeah, that's a Fleer series. Like Fleer did.
I was going to ask if it was Topps or Fleer. That was my next question. So yeah, that's exactly.
And what happened there was my favorite series, the series I got into comics with, was the 1992 Marvel Masterpieces by Joe Jusko. Coming up with a coffee table book that I was part of a Kickstarter for in a month or so. I'm super stoked. But some of these images, if you're a comic fan, you've probably seen them at some point during on an alternate comic or cover or
their first page Google results
insert
character.
Sure.
Awesome.
And it was different because before Alex Ross really kind of took the industry by storm, his style was painting on canvas. Joe Jusko did the same thing. And so they were still cartoony, but they had this depth to them. And I was an art school kid, so I was like, this is exactly the way you get to me. And I collected all those cards, and then based off of the just incredible popularity of that specific series, it basically proved to Fleer and to manufacturers that comic cards could sell like baseball cards, like football cards,
100%.
And from then on out, it was gangbusters, and it's still a collector's item. But like, those cards were a huge tool for kids because the comics weren't selling. They were resorting to a lot of like jump the shark tactics, trying to get the old audiences back instead of getting the new, and that's what the cards and the cartoons did.
Yeah.
Right up until they went bankrupt again. And sold all their rights to Sony.
And it's super interesting to me, Nick, because your introduction or your kind of interest in X-Men is also very similar to our friend Vince, whose artwork hangs above my bed. But you are an incredible illustrator yourself. So obviously, I think that's a part of it. It makes sense to me that that's part of your introduction to these, is looking at these images and these panels and these things and being like, oh my God, this is like, it's art. That's kind of amazing to me.
And in those pictures, in that one panel, in that one card, you get to know what their powers are. The artists get creative about how to show their powers, or how can I just totally encapsulate everything about the character in one panel, and that's why the cards were so fun.
They really do help create a visual vocabulary for a lot of those characters, where you can pick up a comic and it won't look exactly like the cards, but you know exactly who it is. And they're so smart with that. They do that with like noises, like 2 out of 3 of like the most famous sounds in the Marvel universe are X-Men. It's like Snikt and Bamf, right?
Yeah.
And then like Thwip
Even
is
I know
the
that
only
shit.
other one,
Yeah.
right? Like it's so smart. It's been around for so long, but you're right. Like it's very canny.
Well, you can just get the fuck out of here right now.
All right, well, thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
Listen, don't pander. That's
Thank you,
disgusting.
Johnny.
No,
I will pander all fucking evening.
that's just pandering.
Keep giving me beers.
So it's interesting for me because I do have 3 people, literally each one of you I can pinpoint as to your kind of influence on me in terms of the comics versus the movies. Ken, you're my earliest adopter of this, and I don't think I ever would have gotten even close to the comics if it weren't for you.
So sorry.
No, I loved it. Like it, and I apologize, Nick. I think you might be. Our signal might be freezing a little bit, so if we're a little behind you, just don't sweat it too much.
I'm cool as a cucumber. I didn't hear a single word, but I still know exactly what you just said to me.
Light as a feather.
No, my introduction to X-Men was definitely the cartoon series, and it's interesting when you were saying that, Nick, is that I'm a couple years older than you. I'm older than everybody else on the podcast right now. So I wouldn't. For me, Batman was. For anyone in my generation, it was Batman and Ninja Turtles. Those were the 2 cartoons that probably everyone in our group going from 6th grade into high school knew of them. What was funny about X-Men is that, like, we all talked about Batman because that was still in our middle school. We get to high school and no one fucking talked about X-Men, but everyone knew X-Men. So like Casey, our longtime listener, Casey August, I remember he got his nose broken in playing basketball. Jim Vanek broke his nose.
Are we sure that wasn't deliberate?
It might have been.
Okay.
I think it was a hate crime, and so he's did
part
it.
of the tribe.
And I remember Casey, he is part of the tribe. So Casey, I remember like talking to me about it. Goes, he was getting an IV for the first time, and he goes, it was like fucking Wolverine with the claws coming out in that X-Men show, and I was like. You watched that X-Men show? I mean, and it was, we all realized, like, yes, we're all watching, like, we're not watching it regularly like we did with Batman, but our introduction to the X-Men was through that cartoon.
It was huge for a lot of people. Yeah, absolutely.
And like, and I to use your word, I was a Luddite to all of this shit. The comics I read when I was a kid were Ren and Stimpy comics because I used to try to trace them to redraw them,
Guys,
and I
look
would
what I
watch
drew.
that. I did. I go, look, I did that, and I'm like, no, I did not do that. I had contact paper. It was great, but it was interesting. So then when the
Mac just collected heavy metal magazines.
Super hard. I was super hardcore. I was busy doing musicals and hating Rent. But
heavy metal is a musical, basically.
Sort of. Kind of. But what was interesting with the X-Men is it really, for me, it was that the first movie came out, and I just remember recognizing the first movie is not amazing, but there are things happening in that movie that I was fascinated by, especially the Magneto and Professor X thing. And I remember my first thought going to it was like, I watched this cartoon. That guy's way too old to be Magneto. Like he's this big fucking jack dude.
We all had the same idea.
And I watch it and I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then when X2 came out, that's when
if 80-year-olds can be president, 80-year-olds can also fight mutants.
This is true. Also, I think Ian McKellen was like 60 at that time. Like it's
he carried an air of the old as fuck.
Yeah, led a hard life. Yeah.
That's what's kind of cool about Magneto in the comics. But he could skew older. You know, it can kind of be flexible, and it's almost something scarier about.
Yes.
Like imagine if Mitch had the powers.
That's a weird way to go with this, but
Mitch McConnell has the magnetism.
No. Actually, Mitch McConnell is exactly the dude who melts. Like he actually looks
Senator Kelly.
Yes,
Senator
he looks
Kelly.
exactly like Senator Kelly in
But
that.
imagine if
Him stroking out as him turning to goo.
Yeah, he's like.
Toad has a
Imagine,
wicked
though,
tongue,
if-
Senator.
Imagine if
Yes.
you will, someone like that having the powers. You're still having the cognitive decline.
Yeah.
You're still getting
Well, that's terrifying.
weaker. And by the way, you're also a hardline radical.
Yes.
You're getting older.
So-
your body's starting to fail you, but yet you have some of the best powers in all the Marvel universe.
They
Does that
definitely
make you
play with that
scarier?
in the
That makes
Morrison
you a
run.
scarier. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes him absolutely scarier than a mid-20s,
Yeah.
mid-20s, 30s.
Absolutely.
What I wound up liking about it is one of the things I started to rebel against with the comic idea, and it's not all comics, but especially the time that I was seeing these in the late '90s and stuff, is I hated the idea of like the big pecs, big tits, like. Just like the like every superhero has
Rob
got
Liefeld?
like
Oh
all
my
of this
God.
just
Rob
like
Liefeld is,
machismo shit that I didn't like. So it was when I was part of that problem because I remember Ian McKellen being like they were like, oh, it's Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, like these are old guys, how can they be like I don't understand. Magneto should be big, and then in
Great
my head I go,
actors, but-
why does Magneto need to be brawny? There's no reason. Like there's literally zero reason for Magneto to be brawny, to be scary. He can manipulate metal. That's scary enough, and he is smart as
you
fuck.
tell Jim Lee that.
I will. He can't draw feet, or that the other guy.
By the way, Jim Lee X-Men covers
Yeah.
are absolutely iconic to me. I don't even think I've read that run yet. I'm working my way back.
It's a lot to work
Claremont
I don't
through.
know.
right now.
Alan Davis
But
is my
like the
favorite
covers
artist.
though,
Great.
ooh,
Terrific.
my buddy Storchy.
Alan
who
Davis
is-
does hair great. Like
Oh
Alan
my
Davis draws
God.
hair awesome. What you guys are describing is it's important because there's people that have written academically about comics and they talk about comics as being American mythology. Like we don't have myths, right? We don't have Apollo and Thor and stuff, right? We're too young.
We have
I mean, well now we do.
kidding. I'm
We
kidding.
stole him, and we have Apollo.
I
right?
saw that Ragnarok, and he was there.
Yeah, right. Well, we do now, but because they bought the
Some
rights.
major shade to our.
But so these are mythic figures, like they're mythic men and mythic women. Like Storm, like is literally. I mean, she operates as a goddess. Like she's a goddess, and there's the nerds who like to nerd out on this. They like to talk about Omega level mutants. Like Magneto and Storm and stuff like that. There's definitely a cognitive dissonance. There's an agreement you make when you go into a movie theater and you're like, okay, well, they have to hire actors. Of course, it's Patrick Stewart who's going to be Professor X. By the way, Matt, you said we weren't going to focus on the movies, and here we are.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right. Like talking about comics as mythology, as American mythology. I mean, comics are one of the few American art forms that we have. They are based in. I mean, it was New York. The famous funnies guy. The first comic book was created by a Jewish man.
Yes,
So, in New York.
And like Superman, to bring in DC into this or whatever, is a metaphor for there it is, a metaphor for the Jewish experience, like an alien, right? Someone who's like reads as human but is
Wait
not.
a minute. Are you telling me Superman's Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know, right?
You're gonna get
sorry.
so pissed when you hear about Captain America.
I know. It is like to the point that Elizabeth was making. Like we don't have American culture, and what's permeated like into the rest of the world tends to be like sports or like cinema and stuff like that. And I kind of sometimes it's cinema and sometimes it's not. But it's for like the comics, these are our mythic figures, and that is they represent more than just like the powers that they have or what they are. And I think Marvel is always I'm always gonna choose Marvel over DC, because I always think that Marvel characters are more complex and more interesting and more flawed than what DC offers. If DC offers like,
Speaking of flawed characters,
yeah,
so Kitty Pryde.
Oh my god.
Wait. All right. So I want to. So
stop. Yeah, go.
All right. So we are. I have a question that it's a big question for all of us, and I think it will take us the rest of the time. But it is a nice setting of the table for our follow up number 2 in this podcast. I think
Because we're on
Now-
hour 3.
and this one comes directly from Ken Posner. It is the most. It's the hardest my brain has worked to answer something, because you asked me a question that was really, really interesting. It was the first time I'm dumb about these things. And I've brought this up on the podcast before, but I'm gonna shift the question just a little bit. But your general question was, which it was an easy question, right? Which superhero do you identify with? Right? But then you went deeper into say that each superhero is guided by a trauma or a principle, and that principle is what you are actually identifying with when you say it. And there's a difference between who you identify with versus who you is your favorite versus who you want to be. So that's my 3-part question for all of us to carry out the last 20 minutes of this podcast. And Ken, I had never thought about it in that way of thinking about Spider-Man with guilt and Daredevil with justice and Batman with vengeance, especially Daredevil with justice, which I'll definitely get to in my answer. So this is your 3-part question. We're going to go in the same round we've been doing it. We're going to start with Elizabeth, if you're okay with starting this one out. So it's a 3-answer question. Who do you most identify with? Who do you most want to be? And who's your favorite? And why?
All right.
I love this question.
Yeah, this is great.
This is a Ken
And also-
Posner original. I stole it.
I also would love to know what major film character that had a major role in any of the X-Men films do you want them to get right in the MCU?
That's a great follow. I love that follow. I love that.
Too.
Let's do it, guys. 4-part question.
Oh my god, that 4th one, that's the hardest question.
We'll do the first 3 and then we'll come back around for the film one.
Perfect.
That'll be close us out.
I'll say the character I most identify with and my favorite character is Kitty Pryde, and I think it's because I found her when I was literally 13 and a half. And immediately when I read that first Wolverine series, went back and read everything Claremont in that entire era. And kind of to go off that idea you were saying of Daredevil's motivated by guilt, things like that. I think what I identified with was I was 13 and a half and I was an awkward kid and I desperately wanted to prove myself, and I was constantly around adults who were my peers, not people my own age. So
That's real in the head.
So that's when I started to identify with her. And then Excalibur, which is my favorite comic series of all time, is kind of her growing into herself. And I was reading that in high school. I spent my entirety of high school and the first year of college hunting down every single issue of Excalibur, which I did. And that's kind of her, not being the kid anymore, being away from the parents for the first time.
So
kind
good.
of developing herself, and then as she gets into that weird period following Excalibur, more 2000s, the 90s, is that like early 20s when you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. She was bouncing from being a fucking bartender to teaching to, I'm like, you can't be qualified for all these things, babe.
Love it.
She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's
it's
my
great.
favorite. But I think character I'd most want to be, Polaris. I think she's badass. I think she's badass.
She is.
She's got
Polaris
a fucking,
gives 0 fucks.
Yeah, she's got a PhD. She's cool as fuck. Like, she's just, and she looks
the theme song to
amazing.
Pete and Pete.
She looks amazing all the time. She smashes all kinds of dudes.
Yeah.
She's
She's just sick as fuck. Like you've got your character that you have deep feelings about, and then you want the one that's like, this one's badass. I want to be like the one that's badass. That one's mine.
so awesome.
I love it. Ken?
So it's who do I identify with and who would I want to be? Identify with has always been Cyclops, because, and I get like, Cyclops gets a lot of grief right? Like he's,
This is a Cyclops safe space, I promise.
Thank you, because like even like okay, so like quick shout out to if you really do like X-Men podcasts, like you have to listen to Cerebrocast. It's
best X-Men podcast.
Unreal. Like they made the New York Times. Like I mean, he's so great. It's the lens is very much like it's a queer lens for X-Men, but it works because.
Sorry, we don't promote the liberal media on the news.
Got it.
I'm
got
so
it.
sorry.
Got it.
Continue.
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
promote reality.
Go ahead.
So Cyclops to me, like, yeah, he's a rule follower, but he has to be because the irony with Cyclops is he has this like very powerful mutant ability, but he's the one person who's not in control of it, and he is always aware of that. He has to wear equipment to manage this ability that he has. So he has to play by the rules. He has to be so careful. And I just felt like that all the time. I felt like I'm the oldest of, two brothers. I've got an Alex Summers, that's my brother, who's like out there and like, likes to like very gregarious and like doesn't really worry about stuff. And I felt like I had more like this is like what X-Men does, right? Like it gives you lenses into yourself and like to your identity. So this is a lot that like, when you talk to people about the X-Men, you're sharing parts of yourself that you see reflected. And by the way, this is why like diversity in comics matters so much because people need to see these reflections. Juno Diaz has like this quote about like vampires don't have a reflection. That's what makes them monstrous. If you want to make someone a monster, you deny them a reflection in culture. So like this is the type of reflecting that I think we need to do. So for me, Cyclops was like he had these abilities, he had this potential to be a leader. That's what Professor X saw in him. He's like, this is my team leader, and the only person who didn't see it was Scott for the entire time in the series, and then he finally achieves. And then he like very gracefully steps aside when Storm like emerges as like an even better leader. He's like, absolutely, but they have to bring him back in because like America's not ready for like a proud black woman to be like leading an X-Men comic, right? So
send her to the gold team.
I know, right? Honestly, gold team is where the party is. Like you want to be, if you're picking sides, you're going gold team. You're not going blue team, right? Like that's just a fact, right? So like I just saw like so much. I could see that internalization in Cyclops, and I tended to internalize a lot of stuff in my life. So that's like who I identified with, who I wanted to be, Nightcrawler. That dude, he is a fucking pirate. He is like a man of faith. He is like, and I always felt like I needed to do better with that. This is like my Judaism kind of coming through. He's Catholic, right? Along with Matt Murdock, probably the two most famous Catholics in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, fuck the Pope.
Amazing. He's a sword fighter. He teleports. He's charming. He slayed like everybody. Like he just like, I mean, I don't even know how many women like he slept with. It's crazy.
Can you guess who my character I relate with is going to be, Matt?
Just wait. We'll get to you in just a second. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm basically
Can you guess who it is?
Don't worry. Don't
Can
worry.
you guess?
We're gonna
guess
get there. We're gonna get there.
So like Nightcrawler is just like Nightcrawler is like this raging like sort of just not this id, but like he does what he wants, and he's like he's governed by like intuition and instinct. He's great in Excalibur.
Yeah.
Like I mean he's so great, and in the most recent X-Men comics, he is awesome.
That was my next question. I was like, how do you feel about Nightcrawler now?
He's the soul of Krakoa. He's the one who's like saying like we're losing a part of ourselves. We have to be careful about what we're doing, like be intentional and mindful. So he's so soulful and great. He's honestly like he's he's got more depth to him than I think a lot of people give him credit for. But
that was part of. I mean, you brought. This is not a new take by Ken. When we watched X2, I got all of Nightcrawler's backstory from Ken, and
the first 5 minutes of X2
just
is
effusive praise for that character.
They hit it out of the park,
Love it.
with the early parts of that, and like I mean he builds these relationships. He's really close with Kitty Pryde, with Kat, with Kate.
But he's close with everyone. He's just this very
and also he's the only guy who can pull a prank on Wolverine.
Yes,
he'll take it in stride, and he'll even and Wolverine would even prank him back. Like one of my favorite.
He pranked Magneto.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But like one of my favorite relationships in X-Men, you get a lot of like in the movies it was Wolverine and Rogue. In the comics, it's Wolverine and Kitty Pryde.
Correct.
But like for me, in the comics, Nightcrawler and Wolverine have a relief. He's the only one who can kind of get him to just chill the fuck out.
And because he's so genuine, because he's so good natured, but it's real. Like, it's authentic. There's an authenticity to like Nightcrawler and what he says and does that's really guileless. And the irony, of course, here, they're so good with this, is he looks like a demon.
Yes.
And we can talk about like the crappiness that they did with his background and like his dad actually is Satan, whatever. We don't have to worry about that. But you wouldn't expect it, right? There's that inversion. You wouldn't expect Scott Summers to be like quiet and insecure, but he is, right? You know, the taciturn leader.
And the times that Nightcrawler talks about the fact that God, I don't remember when this is, but he talks about the fact that he comes across scary and he has to present in this certain way, and and he's the first like of our main cast of the X-Men who is a mutant who can't hide their powers.
God, that's true.
And it's just this like
Mystique can just change that blue visage, you know?
Yes, which is his mom. That is a great point, and that does raise a real question here about like if you're a person, say like a person of color, right, where you can't hide that. Nightcrawler has to respond to he knows what people are thinking when they see him. So how much of that is generated from himself, and how much of it is him performing? How much of it is performative to like set people at ease? I'm going to charm the hell out of you so you know I'm not the type of demon that rips her head off, right? Just because I have like blue fur, fangs, 3 fingers on my hands, and a tail, right? So that's an amazing point. Really amazing
and this
point.
is also why X-Men has endured throughout time for us, is that it's steeped in the civil rights movement, and you can make it any civil rights at this point. It was initially during that time in the 60s and 70s, but it just evolves. It's so that it's so easy. It's easy for Bryan Singer to go, this is about being gay or straight, even though it was about being black or white, or it's being about trans or whatever. It doesn't matter. It seamlessly lays that skin on any one of these we don't fit in type things that's out there.
Jay and Miles, Explain the X-Men. Jay has the best point about another lens that X-Men can be viewed through. I mean, obviously as a queer metaphor, as a metaphor for being a person of color, tons of things, but also as a disability metaphor. And that's
amazing.
And the first time I heard that, it was like, I got to go re-examine everything.
Yeah, there's always going to be a mainstream, right? And there's always going to be marginalized people. There's always going to be people operating at the edges of society, but not just edges of society, edges of a school or a classroom. There's the theater kids. There's like whoever's not conforming. And
we don't fucking like the theater kids.
No, they're terrible.
What a bunch of assholes.
The worst, right? And so anyone can identify. Like if you're an X-Men reader, then you're like empathy building. You know, you're really developing these multiple lenses. You can't avoid that. It's in there, right? You see these different personalities, these different backgrounds, these different people.
Unless you're a fucking moron who's like, I don't like the Krakoa era.
Oh my god. Like, and if you don't like the Krakoa era, like, we gotta have words. Like, it's the best. It's the best it's ever
like
been.
A man.
Is that a yellow? Is the wording in that in yellow? I always picture it in yellow. Like.
All right, Ken, and who is your favorite?
My favorite mutant or my favorite comic book character?
I originally had realized that my answers were going the breadth of everything, but let's keep it. This is an X-Men podcast, so we had our who we identify with, who we want to be, and who's our favorite.
This is not a Firestar podcast.
And this, by the way, could be this could mirror one of your other answers. That's okay too.
It can, and like honestly, like I spend more time thinking about Cyclops and Nightcrawler probably because of the way that I identify, I suppose, with them. But my favorite character, fuck it, it's Nightcrawler. Like, I mean,
he's cool.
Anytime I'll see it's like catnip. Anytime I see Nightcrawler like on a cover, if he's in something, I'm picking it up. Like, I have to see what that dude is doing. Did you have that one too, Elizabeth? I feel like you answered 2. Did you answer all 3?
Yeah, I mean, favorite character and character I identify most with was Kitty, and then Polaris for.
Oh yes.
All right, Nick, give us your 3.
Well, I feel like they put the cart before the pony here. I always related to Nightcrawler for different ways. Not because It's funny because Ken just went on this like he's the best fucking guy.
He's awesome.
You can say he's badass. He's badass.
He's
No,
badass.
I
He's
relate
so
to the
much
guy who like sex for all the women is so cool and funny and charming.
And that's part of him. He's badass.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes.
He's dealing with a lot of religious trauma.
Yeah. Mhm.
He's vaguely satanic. Sometimes he smells a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a
He
musk.
uses humor
Women
as a
love
defense mechanism. I always, and actually, it's funny. My favorite version of Nightcrawler so far was it was a cartoon. It was X-Men Evolved.
X-Men Evolution.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm younger than you guys
underrated.
are, and that was
That's like when they're in high school. Like, or
yes,
whatever.
I
Yeah.
loved X-Men
It's
Evolution.
a
It's
young
clever.
retconned Nightcrawler, but to me, that's the Kurt Wagner.
Oh, he's so good in that. Sorry.
It's a teenage Kurt. It's totally dead on. But yeah, I always I liked again, and Ken talked about this too. Nightcrawler has another superpower, which is connecting with people, even if they are vastly different than him. And it is a superpower because, like Ken said, he has to convince some people sometimes that he's not a bad guy, or in some cases, like Wolverine, he's on his own goddamn team. But in a way, he's like kind of the mother of the group too, because he always has a wisecrack to disarm a potentially tense situation, which they, of course, always find themselves in.
Yes.
So and just kind of goofy looking, but like trying to find a way to fit in.
I'm so very fascinated about the people I'm drawn to in my life and
Nightcrawler lovers.
No, I mean not just Nightcrawler. First of all, we will have we're going to have a follow-up X-Men podcast, but at some point we're going to have a Daredevil podcast because all three of the people involved in this on here are Daredevil fans. I honestly, Nick, I had no idea you were going to say Nightcrawler out of the gate on there. And I vaguely remembered that from Ken, but I used to affectionately, and I apologize, Ken is right now using the restroom. Everyone, let's just make fun of Ken because he's not in the room right now. And he's like, no, don't, like, he thinks he's going to get away with it, but we're going to pretend like he didn't. But he's peeing right now because, you know. He doesn't have any, he has, if he was Nightcrawler, boom, boom, right out of there. I'm sorry, bamf, right
there
out
you
of
go,
there.
yeah.
It would be bam, bam.
That's right. So, exactly correct.
And it would be perfect because it smells like brimstone.
I honestly am super fascinated because Ken's not here, so I can say it right now. I used to call Nick New Ken for many years because Ken and I hadn't been like talking as much.
Fucking
and
brutal.
But I would like Nick and I would sit on the couch here watching sometimes the Chipmunks and eating ice cream and drinking scotch.
Usually,
and sometimes. And I remember just being like, oh, he would say something about X-Men or whatever. And I go, oh, you would love my friend Ken. You guys have like such a similar
You have been saying that
things.
for years.
But
what's
also super funny, and what I can't wait when we get to our second volume 2 of many volumes of this podcast, is that you and Ken are so different on a great many things, but the parts of you that like intertwine are married perfectly. It's unbelievable. All right, continue
Nightcrawler
on.
being badass brings everyone together.
That's amazing. That is so. I honestly don't think you and I have talked much about Nightcrawler. I know Ken and I talked very, very much when we watched X2, and it was like, and again, all of the Catholic imagery and the stuff. I also love that you and Ken have absolutely mirrored each other from a Catholic Judaism standpoint.
Solidarity.
Because, again, and obviously you guys are both fucking Spider-Man fans because you grew up on guilt. And you grew up on the most guilt you could possibly have as human beings. That I really think this is the dissertation, by the way, for both of you, is the Catholic Judaism bridge through comics.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very real thing. All right, continue, Nick.
So the next one was what?
So you had who did you identify with? Who did you want to be? And who's your favorite?
Man, I wanted to be Gambit. But not for his powers.
Yeah,
cool
absolutely. In the cartoon,
but-
especially, was he like that in the comics? I assume.
He's
Yeah, he's
he's
sort of
very
an
much
anti-villain at
that.
first.
But as he's evolved, it's like, oh, Gambit, you guys want him to be Gambit, sexy Gambit? Okay, sexy Gambit. Rogue can go do things and develop as a character. Gambit will always just be sexy Gambit.
Always.
Is anybody reading Rogue and Gambit, the couples comic that's out?
That's out right now?
It's
I'm not. No, I'm not reading it.
I've
an
just
interesting
been
series.
so...
Is it like a romance novel? Because that's basically what he is. He's like the cover of every romance novel now.
Is this still ongoing? Am I missing this in my reading order?
It's very new. It's very new. It's like a Mr. and Mrs.
I
Smith,
remember
with
the
Rogue and
older one when Excalibur first came back, when they were just like fucking around when Excalibur hadn't really settled into what it was going to be yet, and that was great. But
it's not like that. It's fun. It's fun.
I like that you say it's like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's kind of interesting.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. X was another one of their
that's like one of
miniseries.
There's a Are they married?
Yes. So what happened?
Yeah, now they're married.
So what had happened?
What happened
was that Kitty asked Colossus. I hate this relationship.
I hate
it's
it too.
a really
bad.
Creepy. It's a bad.
Ask Colossus.
Kitty.
Let's get into it.
Pride.
Let's get into. So
he's Russian.
They were about to get married, and then Kitty's at her honey. What's the fucking thing before the wedding?
The
bachelorette party. And which, by the way, I just want to note this was before she was confirmed bisexual in the comics, and in the background there are male and female presenting strippers, and that was very exciting for me at the time.
Very fun stuff.
And literally one conversation with Ileana, who's Colossus' sister, was like, "You don't like this dude, I think."
Magic baby.
And she literally was like, "Sounds good to me." And they get to the fucking altar, and he goes to put the ring on her finger. And she phases her hand through the ring and just sinks into the ground.
Yes.
Fuck, can you imagine being Colossus?
Yes.
How awful.
Amazing.
And then Gambit's like, we could steal their wedding.
Yes. yes.
Everyone's
I do remember
here.
This. That's exactly right. Oh
and
my
then
God,
they
I forgot
get married.
about this.
It was so funny.
Yeah, they do hijack the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't hijack it. It was aborted.
But just
like,
so
you know,
fucking funny.
it's so funny. But like, you can't. There's like kind of an adage, like you can't marry characters in comics. They just get fucking boring. Like, and that's kind of where they are with like Rogue and Gambit.
Yeah.
So they have to like pull them apart. Like, so they're in different titles, and they like, you know, so that they get to like, you know, you get the sparks when they're crossing over or whatever. But you know, you hope that happens, I guess. But whatever.
The most iconic romantic relationships in comics all have X-Men ties.
Yes.
You have.
Because it's a soap opera.
You have Black Panther and Storm. You have the
because of the two black characters.
The thruple.
Well, I mean, they're both in
Which
African
thruple are we talking
territories.
about? Did I hear thruple?
Yeah, let's.
Is it the psych thruple?
Kitty Pryde did not like that relationship.
Which one?
Storm and Black Panther.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Listen.
we're listening.
I've been baiting you all episode.
I know, and I'm not giving into it.
Senator.
It is a very interesting and nuanced conversation that deserves more gravity.
Well, we'll have to
Except
do that
that-
on our follow-up podcast, I think. But let's continue on with this. So have we? Which ones have we covered on yours, Nick? Of the three?
I relate to Nightcrawler. I think honestly, I like the idea of being able to teleport, but then I'd have to have the blue skin and all that.
Okay.
If I'm picking Nightcrawler,
Apparently, it's not an issue.
I'm gonna go just Jean Grey.
Interesting.
That's who you want to be.
For like who you'd want to be.
Yeah, it'd be great.
That's interesting.
Pre-Phoenix
Why?
Jean Grey?
No.
I'm like fascinated by.
You're gonna go through the whole arc.
Why do you want to be Jean Grey? Is definitely a complex character. Why do you want to be Jean?
Yeah.
Well, are we just talking about power set here, or like become like being John Malkovich?
Nick, honestly, so this whole podcast was your therapist urged us to do this and find out the answer to this question. So let's dig. You know what? Let's just dive into this one right now, please.
This is like something about Mary. Oh, what is there?
Well, time she's up.
Yep.
We'll dive into that one next time.
Richard Jenkins. They're the bathhouses of the 90s.
I would just say Professor X, but I'm saying if we're taking the character, I think you also get the disability.
So,
and I would say teleportation, but
well, Professor, good God, like this is very.
Elizabeth,
provocative.
This is honestly the first time ever in the podcast I really, really wish there was a visible element, because Elizabeth's reaction to what you just said was amazingly just disapproving.
I don't mean to be. I mean, it's not
ableist.
I mean, it is in a way. I mean,
yeah.
We're asking what we would rather have.
You think?
Yeah. Well, Professor X's disability is not related to his power.
Right, but what I'm saying is...
But we can't have a conversation about how much they want to take away that disability from him, even though he's one of the most prominent disabled characters in comics.
He comes back. When he's resurrected, he comes back walking.
Yeah.
So like,
when you get into his head, he's always like choosing to be that way.
Listen, I've seen the movie What Women Want, and I don't want that power.
All right. So your final answer, Nick, is
it Jean Grey?
Jean Grey? That's who your favorite? No, that's who you want to be.
I'm saying powers.
Okay.
You want to be the character or get the powers?
Either or. That's what this question is.
Telekinesis and telepathy
yes.
are pretty cool.
It's quite a combo. It's a great combo.
That's what I'm picking.
And separate from all of that, who's your favorite?
Christ.
I know.
He's feeling attacked. We need to.
I didn't mean to. All right. And so on top of that, who is your favorite?
Omega Red.
That's that Mountain Dew flavor, right?
That's all
I
totally
know about
is.
This. Yeah.
Well played.
It's Rogue.
Well played,
it's
sir.
Rogue.
Rogue is so much fun.
Yeah.
I love that. And also the idea to be able to be any of these things. I 100% get that.
Rogue from Baton Rouge,
from the Bayou, just
Louisiana.
sucking the heads out of crawdads.
I literally
stealing
almost
their
said
powers.
Baton Rouge, which would have fucked me even more, which is because it's Gambit.
And I apologize. We're running we're a little over, but
it's a giant size.
I'm gonna do my three weird ones on here,
yes.
and then honestly, I cannot wait to follow this up with further discussions that get outside of. I didn't even get to how I didn't talk about Ken telling me about every X-Men character. We went to Marvel Superhero Island during Halloween Horror Nights, and it was the villain takeover.
Wait, you guys saw Maximum Carnage?
We saw Maximum Carnage together, and Ken explained to me everything about that.
Would you like to see the picture still in my phone?
Yes,
with Storm and Rogue in my
when we after this, absolutely. I can't believe you have those. I am so. I was at
show them right now. I want to see it.
I was at Horror Nights, and I told Elizabeth I have to remember to talk about this on the podcast.
My two time travel things I want to do is I want to go back in time and go to Pizza Hut during the X-Men tie-ins because I want that fucking cup, and then also do that year of Horror Nights when it was Maximum
I noticed
Carnage.
that you didn't want to
kill baby Hitler.
you didn't want to kill Hitler or stop 9/11, but great, awesome. You got Pizza Hut tie-ins.
Listen,
awesome.
butterfly effect. We don't know what would have happened.
But if I get to drink a Dr. Pepper out of a sick X-Men cup in the 90s, what's better than that?
You bet your ass.
All right, so this one was hard for me because I realized I did the same thing that you were kind of discussing, Ken, is that I was just taking all superheroes and wanted to get onto that one, which I can't. So I'm limiting this just to the X-Men, like we did. The one I identify with the most, for me at least, from my limited exposure, is Iceman. I like the idea that someone he's
very interesting.
He's comic. He's late. He's whatever.
Gay.
He's
gay. Yeah, obviously, guys. I mean, obviously.
I mean, there is
is this the podcast we talk about it? Yeah, definitely there.
This is the time.
No, I mostly
that comes out.
I just like the idea that he's always kind of the like fun, buoyant type of things while dealing with other shit underneath.
Because he's constantly deflecting.
Yeah.
That's so.
Because dating Polaris
is gay.
Again, not in the aspect I'm 100% aligned with, but that's fine. But it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
He's also an Omega level mutant.
Yes.
Like when you think about it, when he can freeze the water in someone's body, that's fucking frightening. Like he's Magneto level.
Well, I also just realized like all of my things are just hiding things. So now I'm starting to wonder about what this says about me. The character I most want to be is Mystique. To be able to be
so gay.
So okay, guys, just calm down, everyone here.
Yep,
everyone, calm down.
You've just picked the two most iconic gay characters in the X-Men universe.
I'm super glad that my last one is not played by a prominently famous gay actor because that would be embarrassing.
So your favorite is Magneto?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
I probably should have chosen Magneto for my favorite character.
And
can I amend that? Can I say Magneto Magneto for my favorite character.
I'm good, but I'm also going to qualify it and say the scene. I literally pulled the whole scene. We will not play it on here because I've played it multiple times on this. The scene with him and Pyro in the airplane, is the greatest thing. It's also the gayest Magneto has ever been when he's with Mystique and they're laughing
with his like
they're laughing at Rogue. He's like, "We love what you've done with your hair.
We love it."
And just like absolutely gaze out on her.
It's why
so
he
great.
got the part.
That's
You're
one of my
absolutely
favorite
right.
moments.
It is the
You're a god
greatest
among
thing.
insects?
And yeah, no. Well, it's so. First of all, he starts it off as a gay drag queen and just slays Rogue, and to the point
God, that
where
was
she
so
tries
good.
to take her glove off and fuck him
Yes,
up.
that's true.
Right?
And he
I
like
love that.
and he like laughs
And he la- and
he's like
hand waves it. And he's like,
It's him and Mystique just huddled together. They're just like, and
That ugly
then
bitch.
like, my God, have you seen their uniforms?
And he has-
Jesus,
and I-
they're all black. What is this, Chanel 1995?
and I literally timed it out. It's a 60-second scene that does with Pyro what George Lucas tried to do with Anakin in 3 movies.
Correct.
And it is a guy
Yes.
telling someone, like going, what's your name?
John.
What's your real name,
John?
John? Pyro. I can't control the fire. I can't
create
start the
it.
fire. I can only control it.
Yeah.
Don't and then basically don't listen to them. You're a god amongst men. It is the
Don't let
most,
anyone tell you different.
It is the fucking greatest 60 seconds of any superhero movie that exists anywhere. I'm gonna say it
so
right
good.
there.
We can like talk about Ian McKellen being casted. He's too old. He's like too frail. Whatever. It doesn't match up. That scene. There is not one X-Men person, fan, comic reader who like hated the movies and like pick. Everybody loves that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows how important it is. If you have to understand like Magneto, and this is why I'm changing it to like Cyclops was right, Magneto was right. There is an element here about like we're not taking any more shit.
Yeah.
This is not about discussion or compromise. These people want to wipe us off the face of the earth, and we're not going to do it anymore. We're just not going to take it.
And in that scene, it's his superiority over not just, and I love it because it's both over the mutants and over the humans.
Yes.
That's what makes him so. It is.
You use the right word. It's homo superior.
Yeah. It is. It's 2 minutes of the most perfect character work in any comic book movie that exists.
And his best new line. It's not new now, but. You have new gods.
Toad
now.
has a wicked tongue, Senator.
No,
You
not
have new
Toad has a
gods
wicked.
now.
No.
Not that one.
You have new
You know what
gods
happens
now.
to a
It's
toad
so
when it's
good.
struck by lightning?
The same thing that happens
I will
Halle
say.
Berry, you're so hot. Oh my God.
We've definitely reached the end of our podcast. I do want to say the reason I pulled those 2 clips, by the way, and Ken did bring up his younger brother earlier in the podcast.
My Alex Summers.
His Alex Summers, Ben Poser, one of my favorite people on the planet,
He's
and
so
one
great.
of Ken's. Ben used to do,
Also dated a lot of weird women.
Yes, absolutely. Ben used to do a one-man impersonation of Charles Xavier having sex with Eric Lensher, Magneto.
My brother loves doing this.
And the whole first minute of it was just and then it always went into
Toad has a wicked tongue.
I was always the kicker, and it would fucking kill me every goddamn time.
You have to have him on.
It is the funniest thing I've maybe ever heard. Maybe ever.
He also does a great, like, before the last book of Harry Potter came out, like, alternate, like, how he thought it should open with, with Harry tickling Draco awake and saying, and Draco's like, yes, lover. And he said, you remember when you killed Voldemort? That was so sexy.
I love it. I can't wait. We will absolutely will have Ben Posner on here.
You have to have him.
Everyone. We made an hour 40 minutes. It flew by. This felt like nothing to me.
No.
This is
got
I
started.
got nothing.
You kidding me?
I cannot wait to dive into more of it. Listen, Cerebro, we're coming after you.
Oh,
X2,
we are
baby.
coming
never
after
do
you.
that.
We
I
are
would never.
going to make it happen. We are Cerebros, right? Am I right? No,
there's-
that's not okay. All right. Anyway,
a bit frattish.
maybe a little bit.
Suddenly fragile.
Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us on the podcast. I honestly, as many more of these as you want to do, we will make them happen once a month.
This has been the
we'll
best
do it.
conversation I've had in fucking
This
months.
is
so great.
fantastic.
This is so great.
Thank you all for joining us. Nick, thanks for zooming in from
Thank
the
you,
West
Nick.
Coast. Ken and Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us in person.
Mm.
We will be back with new episodes as we can get to them. I believe the next one is going to be Patrick's Ahsoka episode, which he has been working on nonstop.
Don't miss it.
There's a
or
lot.
as we want to call it, the Super Ahsoka.
That's right. Oh, I do like that, Nick. That's a good one. I'm going to take credit for that. I'm going to cut this out of the podcast, and I'll take credit for the next one. Oh, and thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next time. What we do at the end of every podcast, we say this thing at the same time. We go, cheers! Or JB says, Kampai.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
L'chaim.
Nick